Sorry, Alma. We're going to talk about all the Monster Hunter weapons and maybe help some people decide on what to pick. I know it can be tough to choose a weapon because I keep going back and forth between what two weapons I'm going to use. This isn't really about the best weapon because that's Greatsword, but about what weapon might fit for you because there's so many different weapons in this game and they can be very overwhelming to look at and to figure out which one you like. Every weapon in the game is good at doing damage. It's good at hunts. You're going to be able to do every hunt with every weapon. Let's start with the Greatsword. So the Greatsword is a big, heavy weapon, and you move slow when you use it. A lot of people don't like that, but it also has some of the highest damage in the game, and that's why I like it. Now, every weapon will have a lot of nuance to it, but some weapons are easier to pick up than others, and the Greatsword is one of the easiest. It's just you press triangle or Y, depending on your platform, and you hold it until you do more damage. You have to do 3 attacks. That charges up into a big, heavy attack that does 2 swings. It has a block. The block is actually useful. It also has a counterattack. And if you roll during a charge, you can shoulder tackle through an attack. And you never really have to worry about the circle button because it does a spin. And the spin is useless. It's a very simple weapon, easy to pick up. Really just about the 3-hit combo here. You can do 2 shoulder tackles and the third one will charge up. And that's pretty much it to the weapon. I mean, it's very simple, but it's very high damage. The weapon has a lot of potential for high skill usage because of all the counters and dodges and blocks. This weapon gets the reputation for being the Unga Bunga weapon because you're just gonna hit and you're gonna hit and you're never gonna stop hitting. You're gonna swing and you're gonna shoulder charge. The Longsword, one of the most popular weapons every time Monster Hunter comes out because it looks very cool. People like katanas. It does have some really stylish moves in it, but for the most part, you're gonna press triangle. Now, it has a meter that you have to fill up by pressing R2 over and over again. When you fill that meter up, you get to do this helm splitter. Looks very cool. And then that's it to the weapon. There's a counter. Circle button does a rising slash and a thrust. You're never really going to use it unless you're trying to hit a specific spot, like it's a high flying monster or something. But you can want to use various moves to max out your spirit gauge, and every time you do, the border becomes a different color. So white and then yellow, and then it'll become red after I do this last one. After you get red meter, you get a couple of additional moves in your combo, but you're still pressing triangle. And that's pretty much the weapon, is pressing triangle over and over and over and over and over and over. Triangle, 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 triangle. You throw in a circle there. Doesn't do anything. Throw in a circle and do circle and triangle. And that will do a little fade slash here. R2 and circle will do a little foresight slash. And it'll count as a counter. And it'll fill up your meter. But it is very hard to land, and if you miss it, you will lose all of your meter. So a lot of people don't do it, including me. Not the most complicated weapon. It is a lot of button mashing, but you'll look cool doing it. And if you master the counters, there's a high skill ceiling that you can actually master there. All right, sword and shield. It has the best of both worlds. It has blunt on the circle button, and then it has slicing on the triangle. So you get to knock out and slow monsters with shield bashes, and then you get to also cut tails and click wounds with the slashes. It's got a really nice moveset, really agile. You're much more maneuverable with your dodges and dashes. Sword and shield is probably the best all-arounder if you want to do a little bit of everything. And you have some really good, cool, stylish dashes. So it's just a really fast, nice, nimble weapon in case you're someone who doesn't like these slow, heavy ones. All right, next up, we have the dual blades. This is another very popular weapon, mostly because people like... They are very fast. They look really cool to do, and also you're pressing a lot of the same button over and over and over again. So if you like button mashing, this is it. This is the button masher. It has a couple of modes, so there is a little bit of nuance to it. It has high stamina requirements. I'm draining my stamina right now in demon mode. I can exit demon mode, or I can fill this up and enter demon mode 2, do a demon flurry. This is a popular pick for just the style of it. A lot of people like how it looks. The dual blades are very fun. I mean, they just look really good when you're just pressing one button. If you want to look really good while not having to know too much about a weapon, it's pretty simple and can do that. It doesn't deal the highest damage per hit, but you can see that there are a ton of hits versus, say, the Greatsword, where I did one hit that did 300. This is so many little cuts for 2 to 10 to 12. The fast attacks make it a good status builder. This is a good pick if you want to just turn your brain off, and that's really cool dodges like that. The hammer. Now, this may look like a big, heavy, bulky weapon. So for how heavy this weapon looks, it's actually very fast, and you get a lot of maneuverability out of it. It has a lot of nuance to it. It has big, heavy hits like this one. But what's unique about the hammer is that it's the heaviest blunt weapon. It'll do the most KO damage and knockouts and drain the most stamina. So this will make hunts a little bit easier, because when you have an exhausted monster or a monster that you're constantly knocking out, they don't do as many abilities on you, or they give you lots of openings to hit them. So some of my easiest times hunting have been with the hammer or with the hunting horn, the only 2 real blunt weapons in the game. One unique ability that the hammer has is the ability to hold the R2 button and charge. Depending on which color you see, that's the level of charge. So at level 3, if I let go, I just do a big hit. At level 1, it's just a white charge. I do a little hit. And then at level 2, I do this uppercut. And that's pretty much my bread and butter when I'm playing this. I run around, then I run up to the head, and I do the uppercut, and then I get out. But you can do the level 3, and then... so with triangle, you have the side hits. And then with circle, you have the big bang. And that is really going to lock you into position here. This is probably the heaviest move, whereas the other ones are very maneuverable. You really only want to use the circle when the monster is down on the ground, so you can just keep bashing on their head. This is just a very satisfying weapon to use, just smashing a monster in the head with a big piece of metal. And it's also just the added benefit of making your hunts a little bit easier. So, you know. All right, so it's time for the hunting horn. And the hunting horn is not always a horn. So sometimes it's a drum, sometimes it's a guitar, sometimes it's all different instruments. And so one of the cool things about this is that each instrument will have its own melody or song that it plays. And this weapon can be pretty complicated. It's a little bit intimidating, but it isn't as hard as it sounds. But you are essentially a hammer bard. That's what you are. You are going to play buffs, and you are going to still do the same thing that hammer does, where you smash, and you smash in the face over and over again. The difference is that on the top right, you'll see that you have a list of songs that you can play. And all of these songs do is they just correspond to what moves you punched in. So you kind of are trying to do some combos here, and they're very specific to each weapon. So right now you can see on my screen, I have an attack up song. Now that's one of the best songs that I'm going to want to put on. So what that means is I'm going to have to press triangle, circle, and then triangle. And then I just press R2. And that'll play every song that I've just put up. If it turns yellow, that means that I have made the song. The song is good. The song is up. Now, that's not enough for me. I want it to be purple. So I can play the song again. And that'll turn it purple. Now it's purple and it's empowered. Now, if I wanted to do the same thing, but I didn't want to spend all that time doing it, I play the song. So I'm doing fire resist right now. Now it says press R2. Now if I press R2 and I press R2 again, it plays another part of it at the end, and that will empower the song. It sometimes will get interrupted by monster attacks, and so that's why you might see it yellow and you're like, oh, well, I have to play that song again. So all those songs have different effects, and I'm not going to go over every one of them because there's tons of them, and they can all be different ones on every different weapon. So what you want to do is you want to go to your info page and go down to play guide, weapon controls, hunting horn, and then on the third page that'll list every single weapon effect, and you can see what they all do. The echo bubble is just R2 and X, and what that does is that puts down an effect that buffs other people up, but it also will deal damage. So if I put it here on this monster, you'll see 2 damage numbers are coming up when I hit. 67 and a 10. So I can do this, put 2 bubbles. It's dealing 2 different forms of damage. What I like to do is I put up a bunch of bubbles and then I start performing right in the monster's face. And this will all trigger all those bubbles, all those damage types, and all those damages are going off. And it's really satisfying to do that and land all those. And then also the fact that, I mean, your hunts are just going quicker because you're buffing your team. You're making them go faster, do more damage. And then also you're not bad in the damage department. And you get the bonus of stuns and stamina depletion from the monster. So your hunts are just a lot easier on Hunting Horn. So the Hunting Horn looks overwhelming, but can be pretty easy to get into. And I like it because it has enough complicated parts that I can engage my brain and have to make decisions. If you're someone who likes to help out the team, hey, it's the Lance. What's up, Lance? The Lance is one of those heavy weapons. It's super heavy. You don't even get to dodge. You only get to do this little hop thing. But you do get to do this. Woo! Yeah, you get to do this. A lot of running around because you're Lance, you know? You're doing some Lance stuff. Otherwise, it's a really simple weapon. You got triangle, triangle, triangle. You got circle, circle, circle. Circle is a high thrust. Triangle is a low thrust. That's it. I mean, there's other things to it, like you can block. The blocking is very good. It's probably the best blocking in the game. These hops, you can do 1, 2, 3, hop, 1, 2, 3, hop, 1. That's pretty much the move. You just do 3 hops. Then you have a really nice counter. It's a very defensive weapon, but the power fantasy in this is just the fact that you're never going to be dodging. You don't dodge. You stand under the monster and you block all of it. You want the monster's attention. You want the monster looking at you, and you don't want anyone else to get hit. So it's a very fun weapon for that if that's what you're looking for. The Gunlance is very similar. It's a lance with a little bit more offense to it because, as the name implies, it has a gun on the end of the lance. So you can shoot it, then you got to reload it. But it's a bit tricky to learn because you have to learn how ammo types are and what's a wyvern stake. There you go. That's a wyvern stake. So as you can see, the weapon has a lot of style to it. A lot of flair. The gun has a lot of explosions. It's going to lead to a lot of knockdowns and a lot more damage. All right, here we have the Switchaxe. The Switchaxe is one of the more unique weapons because it's an axe that's also a sword. So you basically transform it from sword to axe, and it has this really cool transformation to it, and all the weapons that you get look very unique because of that, because they are functional. And I think that's one of the coolest things about the Switchaxe. The weapon's pretty simple. You're going to swing until you can fill up a meter. So you can see my Switchaxe meter on the top left. When I switch modes, I use some of the yellow meter, but I gain some of the red meter. The goal is I want to fill all my meters. When I run out of yellow meter, I am going to run out of sword mode. At this point, I should switch back, but I'm just going to exhaust all of it. When it runs out, it's going to force me and lock me into that animation. So I don't want to do that. That'll get me killed in a hunt. But now I'm all out of energy. So now I have to swing the axe and get back my energy. Now it completed the rest of the sword there. When in sword mode and powered up, you can do the chainsaw. That's probably the coolest move that this weapon has. The problem with this weapon is that you don't have a roll half the time. So you have a roll now, but if I was trying to roll in the middle of a fight, I only have this hop. I do not have a roll. I have to hop and then roll, and then you end up getting hit. So it's a hop. The hop does not have any really iframes to it. Even in axe mode, for the most part, you don't have any kind of roll. You have to know your spacing, know your timing, and you have to play a little bit better with Switchaxe than you do with other weapons that do have the roll. The weapon is really fun, and it benefits from some unique playstyles and builds like Rapid Morph or Focus. You know, you can focus on just getting the elemental discharges out, the explosions, or you can focus most on axe mode. At one point, there was a build that just focused on Rapid Morph, which was right here. I'm just pressing R2 and I'm switching between axe and sword, axe and sword. And for some reason, that build worked. So it's got some unique play styles that you won't find on most weapons. The Charge Blade. This weapon has a reputation for being one of the hardest weapons to learn. I don't actually think it's that hard after I've been playing it for a little bit. It's got a sword and it's got an axe, just like the Switchaxe, except it's backwards. So you power up in the sword mode. Now you have to manually charge your sword. You see how I've got those little, they call them files on the top left. My sword changes different colors to let me know, hey, it's powered up. Press R2, which is the block button, and then press circle to shove my sword into my shield. When it's in your shield, you can then press a button to come out of it with your sword, or press a button to come out of it with your axe, which is circle. And now I'm in axe mode. Axe mode has a charge to it. The more I swing with axe mode, the more those charges are expended. But this is where the big damage is. Now I have no more charges in my axe. It's still a usable axe, but it's not doing the explosion effect anymore. So I want to go back to sword. So the complications with this weapon, the reason people find it confusing is that you have 4 things to charge up. You have your files, you have your shield, you have your sword, you have your axe. See, now I powered up my axe by doing a perfect block. Powering up your axe puts you in spinning axe mode, which is lots of damage. It's very good. This weapon can also use a lot of the cool Switchaxe abilities like that Rapid Morph, because there's only 2 morphing weapons, so it's got to be one of them. The real goal of this weapon is to power up as much as you can. But that's the big hit. You basically want to power up and then get into axe mode, spinning axe if you can, and then land the big chungus. It's a great weapon if you want a little bit more defensive options in your play style, and then also just it's one of those brain engaging play styles where you have to think, and if you don't want to think, then this one probably not for you. I'm admittedly bad with this weapon, but I can at least pull some of the stuff. You see? Look at that. Look at that. See if I can do it, even you can do it. Insect Glaive. Insect Glaive. Insect Glaive is super acrobatic and very floaty and fun. It's the closest thing we have to a spear. I mean, I guess a lance counts as a spear, right? But this is actual spear gameplay here. I mean, it's a glaive, but a glaive is like a spear. It's like a halberd. The big things here is you have an insect. You have a bug. See this bug? You get to customize your bug, pick which bug you want, which has different abilities. The problem with this weapon is that you kind of have to use your hands in a weird way or change your controls because you have to control your bug. So R2 will pull out this reticle here. So now I have L2, which does this, which is for focus mode. And R2 is to tell my bug, hey, go get that for me, bro. Go get me the red. So the bug's going to go and get me red. Now he's glowing red. And if I press circle, he comes back. Now my bar at the top left has me having red and orange. There's another color. There's white. I want that one. I send him out. I call him back. Now I have all my colors. Now I'm powered up. So this is how Insect Glaive powers up. When you're powered up, you can do a little bit more moves. Like you can always do this move, and you can always jump. But you're not going to do a good combo unless you have all the colors. So you go like this, and you hit them, and then you can stay in the air a little bit as long as you can keep landing that. And it's not very easy to land a bunch of those unless the monster is very big. But this also gives you a lot of abilities, a lot more damage. These are giving you different buffs. So Insight Glaive has a lot of different combos that you can combine together and a lot of potential for style expression. So all the ranged weapons play differently than the main weapons, obviously, because they're not melee. And they have a little bit of a couple of different nuances. Like you can see now there's a ammo count below my reticle. So it tells me quickly and easily how much ammo I have. It's a gun. You know what a gun looks like, or kind of. This is what it looks like in this game. It's a bow and a gun. This also has lots of different ammo types. L1 will bring up my ammo types, and I can cycle through them. So right now, I only have normal and spread bowgun and heavy bowgun. They have their own ammo types and different levels. It's a whole different complicated thing to get into. To do a quick overview here, you can see that this is level 1. Level 1 means I'm going to have 1, not a high clip count, and 2, I'm going to have a lot of recoil on it. The higher the level, the less recoil you have. Recoil is bad because when I recoil, I am vulnerable. So depending on the weapon that you pick, you're going to want to specialize in different types of ammo, or pick a weapon that specializes in what you want to do. So if you want to do normal shots, you want to do spread shots, there's explosive shots. There's all types of different ammo. And so you get into this whole other layer of Monster Hunter by going into guns. You also have a couple of different moves. You got this bomb here. The light bowgun and the heavy bowgun are very similar, but the difference is that the light bowgun is light and the heavy bowgun is heavy. I'm sorry if that is obvious. So the light bowgun, as it implies, is light and lets me move faster. So I can do quick rolls and get around easily. When I'm shooting, I can do side steps, rolls, easy like that. The difference is that, say, the light bowguns, they tend to be heavier on statuses or on different elements. So pretty simple. The light bowgun is the lightest bow gun, and it lets you have a lot of maneuverability and stay on your feet. For the heavy bowgun, we're gonna roll a lot slower. Not a very maneuverable weapon, but we get the bonus of a shield being on the front, and so I get to block while I'm shooting. Well, not while I'm shooting. If you shoot while you're blocking, you can only do one, but you can block like this. You can also perfect block with it. So you move a lot slower when you're shooting this, obviously. Get access to a lot more ammo types usually. So you get sticky ammo that will blast them. But you can also get this minigun. So this is Wyvern Heart Ignition, but there's also Wyvern Heart Piercer. You can also get Wyvern Pierce Ignition, which is a different type. So some of the weapons will have Wyvern Blast, Wyvern Pierce. There are some that will instead transform into a sniper rifle. In my opinion, the heavy bowgun will have more options for you. And also, it's a better gun. I mean, it's a better bowgun, the heavy bowgun, because you can get these perfect, you can get clashes from monsters from doing the perfect blocks. It's just, it's a slower weapon. So you might have to plan out your fight a little bit better. But because you can block, it's actually a very good defensive option and a very good hunting weapon. All right, last is the bow. And we don't know yet, but I'm going to assume that the bow is going to be one of the best weapons in the game. Not that we're picking weapons based on what we think is the best weapon. But if you're looking for something that has a lot of forgiveness when you're playing, this is it. So you get to stay away from the monster, do lots of damage, and then also you get this access to these really good dashes between your shots. So the monster comes at you, and not only do you get access to them, but by doing these dashes, you're powering up your next shot. So you shoot, you're level 1, now you're level 2, now you're level 3, and then you can do your big damage. Bow used to have to make their own ammo, but now they don't, and now you can just get access to your coatings here. So you can have poison, you can have power, put it on, and now you're dealing more damage. And these recharge on that meter. The hard part of this weapon is probably stamina management, because it's easy to just go crazy with these dashes, and you see my stamina is just going down pretty quickly. And then the monster comes over to me, and I got no stamina left. It also has one of the best wound popping abilities in the game. It's just a lock on. You see that? 1, 2, 3. And a lot of damage comes off of that. And so say you had a bunch of wounds up on the top here, or on the back, on the side, it's all over the monster. Well, you can still have this big radius to lock onto all of them and then drop them. So the bow offers a lot of damage, a lot of maneuverability, and also it looks great doing it. You know, you have these really great animations for everything that you do, including this move, which is everyone's favorite. And that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Call your mother. Only 36% of people who watch this video have called their mother. That's what the stats say. So do that.